The forest world of Arvin was quiet under a pale silver sky. Great trees rose in every direction, their trunks so wide that even 10 people holding hands could not circle one. The leaves gave off a faint glow during the night, making the land feel alive even in the dark. Ryan had been walking through the endless woodlands for hours, carrying only a small pack of supplies and his survey tool. He was part of a small human team sent to explore this planet and test whether it could be used for a future colony. Ryan was younger than most of the crew, but he was known for his courage. He had a habit of walking farther than others dared, and though his captain scolded him often, his maps and reports always turned out useful. He liked being alone in the forest where he could hear the strange sounds of life. Birds with crystal wings sang high notes that echoed like bells. Small creatures with fur that shimmered like silver dust darted between roots. Ryan kept notes in a small journal, sketching the shapes and writing down the behaviors. On this day, the forest was quieter than usual. The bellbirds did not sing, and the silver-furred creatures hid in silence. Ryan slowed his steps, feeling a strange weight in the air. He held his survey tool tighter and scanned the area, but no reading appeared on the screen. The silence itself was a warning, then it came. A low growl rolled across the ground like distant thunder. Ryan froze. Between the tall roots he saw movement. A shadow larger than a man slipped between the trees. His heart quickened. His first thought was to turn back, but curiosity held him still. He crouched low and moved forward slowly. The shadow broke into the light. It was a creature unlike anything in his records. Its body was lean and strong, with limbs shaped like a wolf but longer. Dark fur covered its frame, yet its face was different from any beast. Its eyes were bright, burning with a strange silver fire. The nose and mouth were sharp, but behind the fangs there was something almost human. The creature locked eyes with him. Ryan felt his breath catch. For a moment they stared at one another. Then the beast moved, charging with speed too fast to follow. Ryan stumbled back, raising his tool as if it could protect him. Before the beast could leap, it staggered mid-step. Its body shook and a sharp sound escaped its throat, half growl and half cry. It collapsed onto the ground, clawing weakly at the soil. Ryan stood frozen. He had expected to be attacked, yet the creature now lay helpless. He slowly stepped closer, keeping his tool ready. The closer he came, the clearer the truth became. This was no wild animal. The shape of the arms, the curve of the face, the softness in the eyes, despite the fangs, told him what he was seeing. This was a girl, though not fully human. Her skin showed beneath the torn fur on her arms, smooth and pale. Her breathing was harsh, each gasp sounding painful. Blood stained the soil beneath her, and her body trembled as if she had fought for days without rest. Ryan knelt beside her carefully. She opened her eyes again, the silver glow dim but still burning. Her gaze locked onto him, and he felt a shiver run through his chest. She whispered something in a tongue he did not know. The sound was soft, almost like a plea. Ryan looked around the forest, but no one was there. His team was far away at camp. He was alone with this wounded stranger. For a long moment he hesitated. She was alien and perhaps dangerous. Yet the way she lay there, too weak to lift her hand, stirred something in him. He remembered the oath all explorers carried, to protect life where they found it. He could not walk away. Ryan opened his pack and pulled out a water can. He lifted her head carefully and poured a few drops past her lips. She coughed but swallowed. He tried again, and this time she drank a little more. Her breathing eased, but her eyes remained on him, never blinking. Her wounds were strange. Deep gashes cut across her side, but the bleeding did not flow like a human's. The blood was dark and thick, almost glowing faintly in the shadows. Ryan pressed a bandage against one wound, but it did little. She needed more than field supplies. She spoke again, this time slower, as if trying to make him understand. She touched her lips, then touched his hand. With effort, she brought her fingers to her own chest. Her eyes burned brighter, and he felt the meaning without knowing the words. She needed his blood. Ryan froze. It was madness. Giving blood to a stranger of unknown kind could kill him or worse. But her hand was weak in his grasp, and her eyes begged him silently. The forest was silent around them, as if waiting for his choice. He pulled out his small blade. His hand shook as he pressed it against his skin, making a short cut across his palm. Blood welled out slowly. He held his hand above her lips. For a moment nothing happened. Then she opened her mouth and let the drops fall. Her body shivered as if struck by fire. She grasped his wrist with surprising strength, holding it close. She drank more, and her eyes glowed brighter. Ryan almost pulled away, but something in the bond stopped him. He felt a strange warmth spread from her touch into his arm and chest, as if his life was flowing into hers and returning in another form. When at last she let go, she lay back on the ground with her breathing steadier. Her wound still marked her skin, but the bleeding had slowed. She looked at him with eyes full of light, no longer wild but filled with strange calm. Ryan sat back, dizzy but alive. He wrapped his cut hand with a bandage and stared at her. She whispered a word again, repeating it with more strength. He guessed it was her name, Lyra. The bond was clear in her gaze. She would not leave him now. Something tied them together in that act of blood, something neither fully understood. The forest wind stirred the glowing leaves above, and distant cries of the silver birds returned. The silence had lifted, but Ryan knew the peace would not last. He looked at Lyra, lying weak but alive, and he knew his life had just changed forever. The morning sun broke through the tall glowing leaves of the forest. A soft mist drifted above the ground, and the air smelled of damp earth and strange flowers. Ryan sat by the roots of a wide tree, his pack open beside him. His palm was wrapped in a cloth where he had cut himself the night before. The wound still throbbed, but it was not deep. Across from him, the alien girl stirred. Her silver eyes blinked open slowly, and she lifted her head with effort. The wounds along her side were no longer bleeding as badly as before. Her skin had begun to knit together in faint lines, though the marks remained raw. Ryan studied her carefully, uncertain if she would stand or attack. Instead, she spoke. The sound of her voice was soft but clear, filled with words he did not know. Her tongue moved with strange rhythm, and the meaning was hidden from him. He shook his head slowly. "I cannot understand," Ryan said. She tilted her head, repeating one word, the same word she had spoken before. He guessed again that it was her name. "Lyra," he whispered. Her eyes brightened. She placed her hand against her chest and repeated it proudly. "Lyra." Then she pointed at him, waiting. Ryan hesitated, then answered, "Ryan." Her lips curved slightly, not quite a smile, but close. "Ryan," she repeated, her voice stumbling over the human sound. A quiet bond formed in that moment. Two names, two beings, no longer strangers. Ryan helped her sit upright. She was weak, but strength returned in small waves. She looked around the forest, sniffing the air like a wolf searching for scents. Her gaze sharpened suddenly, and her ears twitched toward the east. Ryan heard nothing, but he trusted her senses. Whatever she was not ordinary. They moved slowly through the forest together. Ryan supported her when she stumbled, though she seemed unwilling to lean on him for long. Pride flickered in her every movement. She walked barefoot, her claws digging into the soil, her silver hair wild against the wind. By midday, they reached a small stream. Ryan knelt and filled his water flask, then offered it to her. She sniffed at it first, then drank deeply. Afterward, she washed the dried blood from her arms. When the water cleared, Ryan noticed markings along her skin, faint lines that glowed softly in the sunlight. They seemed more than scars, almost like natural patterns etched into her flesh. She caught him staring. For a moment she held his gaze, then she looked away, hiding her arm under her hair. Ryan felt guilty for watching, but curiosity pressed inside him. He wanted to understand her, to know what she was. Later, as they rested, Ryan opened his journal and began sketching her form as he often did with new creatures. She watched him closely, puzzled by the moving pencil. When he finished the sketch, he turned the page toward her. Her eyes widened. She touched the drawing with wonder, then pointed at herself. "Lyra," she said. Ryan nodded. Then he drew another shape, his own face with short hair and tired eyes. He tapped the picture. "Ryan," she repeated it again, her voice firmer this time. "Ryan." For a while they shared simple words, pointing to objects and naming them. She tried to mimic his sounds, though some were difficult for her. He tried her words in return, his tongue struggling with the sharp edges of her speech. They laughed once, not at each other, but at the strange sounds they both made. It was the first laugh since their meeting, and it eased the weight in Ryan's chest. As evening fell, the forest grew darker and the glowing leaves shone brighter. Ryan gathered dry branches and lit a small fire with his tool. The flame cast warm light across the roots. Lyra sat close, her silver eyes reflecting the fire like mirrors. She seemed calmer near him now, no longer watching him as an enemy, but as something more. Still, she never let him far from her sight. Whenever he moved, her gaze followed. When he stood, she stood too, even if her body shook with weakness. At night, when he lay down to rest, she curled nearby, her head tilted toward him as if guarding. Ryan was unsettled at first, but soon he accepted it. Something had changed between them when he gave her his blood. It was not simple kindness. It was a bond. The next morning, Ryan planned to return to his team. They would worry about him if he stayed away too long. He tried to explain this to Lyra through signs and words, pointing west toward the camp. She frowned, tilting her head. "Home," Ryan said, pointing at his chest, then toward the west. She shook her head slowly. Her eyes narrowed as if afraid. She touched his wrist and whispered her word again, voice low but strong. He understood enough. She did not want him to leave her. Ryan sighed. He knew what his captain would say if he returned with her. She was alien, unknown, and possibly dangerous, yet the thought of leaving her in the forest alone filled him with unease. She had enemies, wounds, and a bond with him that felt deeper than he could explain. Together they began the long walk toward camp. Along the way, Lyra revealed more of her nature. When a large beast with scales and tusks rushed from the trees, Ryan raised his tool in panic, but Lyra moved first. She leapt with speed that shocked him, claws slashing across the beast's hide. Though still weak, she fought fiercely until the beast fled bleeding into the shadows. She stood breathing hard, her silver eyes glowing bright. Ryan stared at her with awe. She was no helpless girl. She was a hunter, a warrior, and her bond with him made her fight even harder. She looked at him afterward, almost shy, as if seeking his approval. Ryan nodded slowly. "Strong," he said. Her lips curved again, that faint, almost smile, and she repeated, "Strong." By the third day, they reached the edge of the valley where the human camp lay. Smoke rose from machines working near the base of the hill. Ryan pointed toward it with relief. "Camp," he said. "My people." Lyra froze. Her ears twitched and her body tensed. She shook her head firmly. Fear filled her eyes, though she tried to hide it with strength. Ryan looked at her carefully. "Safe," he promised, touching his chest. Safe, but she did not believe him. Instead, she stepped closer, her hand gripping his arm tightly. The bond between them pulsed stronger in that touch, and Ryan felt it as clearly as his own heartbeat. She would not let him go. The camp guards spotted him from afar and ran to meet him. Their voices called out, filled with surprise and relief. But when they saw Lyra at his side, their faces hardened. Weapons were raised, orders shouted. Ryan stepped in front of her quickly, raising his arms. "Wait," he shouted. "She is not a threat." The guards hesitated, but their eyes remained on her claws, her glowing eyes, her strange markings. Behind him, Lyra growled softly, ready to fight if needed. Ryan felt the bond burn between them, warning him that if the humans attacked, she would not run. She would stand. In that tense moment, Ryan knew his life had changed. The bond was real and it would not break. Whatever dangers lay ahead, they would face them together. The human camp on Arvin was built at the base of a steep hill. Tall metal walls ringed the outer edge, and watchtowers looked over the glowing forest. Inside were simple shelters, machines for research, and landing pads for the small ships that had brought them. For weeks, the crew had worked to test the soil and water, to learn if this world could one day carry human colonies. When Ryan returned through the gates, relief washed over the camp. Many had feared he was lost in the forest, but their relief turned quickly into suspicion when they saw who walked at his side. The alien girl with silver eyes and wolf-like claws drew every gaze. The guards' hands remained on their weapons, and whispers spread quickly through the workers. Ryan guided Lyra forward carefully. She walked with her head high but her steps cautious. Her hand brushed his arm from time to time, as if reminding herself that he was still beside her. He felt the tension in her body, like a bowstring drawn too tight. At the center of the camp, the captain approached. She was older, her face lined with years of service, and her voice always carried strength. Her eyes locked on Lyra with sharp suspicion. "Ryan," the captain said. "What have you brought here?" Ryan stood tall, though his heart raced. "Her name is Lyra. She was wounded in the forest. I helped her survive. She is not a danger." The captain frowned. She circled slowly around Lyra, studying her with the eyes of a hunter. "She looks like the ones we were warned about. Records speak of creatures with claws and glowing eyes, hunters that attacked human scouts in the past. And you brought one into our camp." "She is different," Ryan said firmly. "She saved me from a beast. She fought for me when she was still weak. If she wanted harm, she would not stand here quietly. Lyra did not understand the words, but she understood the tone. Her silver eyes narrowed as the captain circled. A low sound rumbled in her throat, not a growl of threat but a warning. She moved closer to Ryan, her shoulder brushing his. The captain's eyes caught that movement. Her expression hardened. "You are bonded," she said slowly. "I can see it in her eyes." "What did you do?" Ryan hesitated. The truth was dangerous, yet he could not lie. She was dying. The only way to save her was to give my blood. Somehow it healed her. Since then, she has stayed close to me. She trusts me. And I trust her. Shock rippled through the small group of officers gathered around. Whispers rose, some fearful, some angry. The captain raised her hand for silence. "You have tied yourself to her in a way none of us understand," she said coldly. "This bond may endanger us all. If her kind are near, they may come for her. And if they learn humans can be linked to them, they may come for you as well." Before Ryan could reply, an alarm sounded from the walls. A guard shouted down from the tower. "Movement in the trees. Shapes at the edge." The camp grew tense. Soldiers rushed to positions, weapons ready. Ryan felt Lyra stiffen at his side. Her ears twitched and her eyes narrowed toward the forest. She whispered something under her breath, sharp and urgent. From the shadows of the trees, figures emerged. They were shaped like Lyra, but larger, darker, and fiercer. Their fur shone like black steel, and their eyes burned red instead of silver. They moved as hunters, silent and swift, spreading out to surround the camp. The captain barked orders, and soldiers raised their rifles. But Ryan saw Lyra's face, and he understood. These were her kind, but not her allies. Her lips pulled back in anger, and she whispered one word again and again. He did not know the meaning, but he knew it was the name of her enemies. The rival clan had come. They stopped just outside the walls, their leader stepping forward. He was taller than any human, his shoulders broad, his claws long as blades. He called out in a voice that echoed across the camp. The words were alien, but the tone carried command. His gaze fixed on Lyra, and his hand rose as if demanding she return. Lyra's answer was sharp. She shouted back, her voice filled with defiance. She moved closer to Ryan, her claws flexing, her body trembling with fury. The leader's eyes turned toward Ryan then, and a cold smile touched his lips. He spoke again, pointing directly at the human. Ryan's stomach sank. He did not know the words, but he knew the meaning. The leader wanted him. The bond between him and Lyra had been sensed, and now it made him a target. The captain turned to Ryan with anger. "This is exactly what I feared. You brought danger to our gates." Before Ryan could argue, the rival clan advanced. The camp erupted in chaos. Soldiers fired from the walls, beams of light striking through the air. The wolf-like aliens leapt with speed, dodging and climbing. Claws tore at the metal walls. Lyra grabbed Ryan's hand and pulled him back from the center. Her voice was sharp with urgency. She wanted him to run, but he could not leave the camp. People he had lived with for months were fighting for their lives. "No," Ryan said firmly, shaking his head. "We fight." Lyra stared at him, her silver eyes burning. For a heartbeat, she looked ready to argue, but then she nodded slowly. She turned toward the wall, her body low and ready. Together they moved toward the battle. Ryan ducked behind cover, using his survey tool to overload lights and create flashes that blinded the attackers. Lyra leapt over crates, slashing at enemies that reached the walls. Her movements were fierce, her claws striking with precision. She fought not only as a predator, but as a protector, staying near Ryan even as she cut down those who came too close. The rival clan fought with power, but the humans had technology, and Lyra's presence tipped the balance. Her speed and instincts gave warnings before attacks landed. More than once she pulled Ryan out of danger just as claws tore through the air where he had stood. But the leader was different. He broke through the line, his strength overwhelming. He leapt onto the wall and dropped inside the camp, landing with a crash that shook the ground. Soldiers fired at him, but his hide deflected the shots. His red eyes burned with fury as he charged straight toward Ryan. Lyra threw herself between them. Their clash was thunderous, claws against claws. Sparks flew as they struck, their roars filling the camp. She fought with all her strength, but the leader was stronger. He pushed her back, his claws raking across her arm. She stumbled, blood streaking her skin. Ryan's heart pounded. He could not watch her fall. Grabbing a nearby power cell from a broken machine, he smashed it against the ground and hurled it toward the leader. The cell exploded in a burst of light and energy. blasting the ground apart. The shockwave threw the leader back, his body slamming into the wall. The rival clan howled in anger. Their leader rose slowly, his eyes burning with rage, but he did not advance again. Instead, he called out a sharp command. One by one, the clan retreated into the forest, their red eyes vanishing into the shadows. Silence fell over the camp, broken only by the crackle of fire and the groans of the wounded. Rian rushed to Lyra's side. She was breathing hard, her arm bleeding, but she was alive. She looked at him with weary silver eyes filled with both pride and fear. She touched his chest weakly and whispered his name. The captain approached, her face hard but her eyes full of thought. She looked at Ryan, then at Lyra. "You were right," she admitted reluctantly. "She fought for you, for us. But this bond of yours has drawn enemies we may not be able to resist. This is not the end. It is only the beginning." Ryan looked at Lyra, who still refused to let go of his arm. He knew the captain spoke the truth. The rival clan would return. They wanted Lyra and they wanted him, but he also knew this. He would not abandon her. The bond between them was no longer just survival. It was loyalty, trust, and something deeper. Together they had faced the first storm. Many more were coming. The camp was quiet after the attack. Smoke curled from the broken walls and soldiers moved slowly through the wreckage, carrying away the injured. Machines sparked where power cells had been struck and the ground was marked with deep claw lines. The rival clan had retreated, but the memory of their red eyes burning in the dark forest lingered in every mind. Rian sat beside Lyra in the medical shelter. Her arm was bound with clean bandages, but faint silver light still glowed from the wound. She sat upright, refusing to lie down even though she was weak. Her silver eyes never left the door, as if she expected another attack at any moment. The captain entered, her boots heavy on the metal floor. She studied Ryan and Lyra for a long moment before speaking. "The walls are damaged. We cannot hold another attack like that. The clan will return, and next time they will not leave so quickly." Ryan stood. "Then we must prepare. We cannot abandon the camp. If we run, they will hunt us anyway." The captain's gaze hardened. "You brought this danger, Ryan, but you also helped drive them back. I will trust your judgment for now. Tell me what you suggest." Ryan felt the weight of her words. He glanced at Lyra, who still watched the door with sharp eyes. Then he spoke. "We fight with more than weapons. We fight with plans. Lyra knows them better than we do. She can guide us," the captain frowned. "You want us to trust her?" Ryan nodded. "She has already fought for us. Without her, many of us would not be alive now." The captain turned to Lyra. She could not understand the words, but she understood the tone. Lyra straightened, her chin high, her silver eyes blazing with silent strength. After a long moment, the captain gave a short nod. That night, Rian worked with Lyra near the fire. He drew shapes in the dirt, trying to explain his plan. She listened carefully, sometimes shaking her head, sometimes adding her own marks. Slowly, they built a map of the camp and the forest beyond. She showed him hidden paths where the rival clan might strike, and where traps could be set. The next days were filled with preparation. Soldiers repaired the walls with metal plates while others dug trenches and set up energy fields. Ryan and Lyra trained together. She taught him how to move quietly through the trees, how to listen to the sounds of the forest, and how to spot danger before it struck. In return, he showed her how to use human tools, flash charges, signal beacons, and shields. Though she was not skilled with the machines, she learned quickly. At night, when the camp grew still, Ryan sometimes caught Lyra watching him. Her gaze was not of suspicion now, but of something deeper. She would not speak, but her presence near him was constant. When he walked, she walked. When he sat, she sat. The bond between them grew stronger each day, and Ryan felt it in his heart like a steady flame. The attack came on the fourth night. The moon of Arvin hung low, casting silver light across the glowing forest. The guards on the towers spotted movement among the trees. Red eyes shimmered in the shadows, dozens of them. Then the howls came, long and fierce, shaking the air like thunder. The rival clan poured from the forest, their leader at the front. Their claws gleamed, their eyes blazing. They charged the walls with fury, leaping high and striking with terrible force. The ground trembled under their steps. "Positions!" the captain shouted. "Hold the walls!" The camp lit up with beams of fire. Soldiers fired from the towers, energy blasts cutting through the night. Traps hidden in the soil flared, releasing bursts of light that blinded the attackers. But the clan pushed forward without fear. Rian and Lyra stood together near the gate. She crouched low, her claws ready, her silver eyes locked on the leader. The bond between them pulsed strong, filling Ryan with courage. He felt her strength echo in his own chest. The battle was fierce. The clan swarmed the walls, tearing at the metal with claws and teeth. Soldiers fought desperately, but the enemy was fast and brutal. Some slipped past the defenses, landing inside the camp. Chaos spread as humans fought in the narrow paths between shelters. Ryan fought with all he had. He used his tools to create flashes of light, disorienting the attackers, then struck them with heavy rods. He was not the strongest, but he was clever, and each move was guided by Lyra's sharp instincts. She moved like a storm, leaping and slashing with speed that no human could match. Together they held the gate against a wave after wave. Then the leader came. He leapt over the wall with terrifying power, landing in the center of the camp. His eyes burned red and his claws gleamed like blades. Soldiers fired at him, but he deflected their shots with brutal strength, cutting through machines and men alike. His gaze locked on Rian, and a low growl rumbled from his throat. Lyra stepped forward. She shouted words of challenge in her language, her voice ringing with fury. The leader snarled back, his eyes narrowing. Then they clashed. The fight shook the ground. Claws struck against claws, sparks flying in the night. Lyra moved with speed, striking at his side, but the leader was stronger. He pushed her back with each blow, his claws cutting deep. She stumbled, blood streaking her skin, but her silver eyes blazed brighter than ever. Rian could not stand aside. He grabbed a fallen soldier's weapon and rushed to her side. He struck at the leader's arm, forcing him back for a moment. The leader turned, his red eyes burning with rage. With one swipe, he knocked Ryan to the ground. Pain shot through his chest, but he refused to let go of the weapon. Lyra cried out, her voice filled with anger and fear. She launched herself at the leader with a fury greater than before. Her claws slashed in a blur, striking his chest, his shoulders, his face. The leader roared, stumbling back. For the first time, he bled. His red eyes flickered with shock. Ryan rose, his breath ragged, and hurled a flash charge at the leader's feet. The burst of light exploded, blinding him for a moment. Lyra took the chance. With a final leap, she drove her claws across his chest in a deep strike. The leader fell back, crashing to the ground with a roar of pain. The rival clan howled in fury. They rushed to their leader's side, dragging him away into the forest. One by one, they vanished into the shadows, leaving the camp in silence. The battle was over. The camp lay in ruins, but it still stood. Fires burned, smoke rising into the night sky. The wounded were carried to safety, and the soldiers moved with heavy hearts. Many were lost, but they had survived. Rian sat beside Lyra once more, his hand on her shoulder. She was bleeding, her body weak, but her silver eyes still shone with light. She looked at him, whispering his name softly. "You saved us," Ryan said, his voice steady. "Without you, we would all be gone." The captain approached, her expression no longer cold but heavy with respect. "She fought harder than any of us. We owe her our lives. But Rian, the danger has not ended. The clan will return again. They will never stop while she remains with us." Rian looked at Lyra, who still clung to his arm even in her weakness. He knew the captain was right. The rival clan would not forgive this defeat. They would come again, stronger and fiercer. But he also knew this truth. He would not abandon her. Together they had faced death and survived. The bond between them was no longer only blood. It was trust, loyalty, and something unspoken yet powerful. The battle was only the beginning. The morning after the battle, the camp was quiet. Fires smoldered among the broken walls, and smoke drifted into the pale sky. Soldiers moved slowly, checking the defenses and carrying supplies to the wounded. Many were exhausted, their faces drawn with fatigue and fear. The night had tested them, and they had survived, but the cost was clear in every scar and mark left behind. Ryan walked among them, supporting Lyra's steps. Her arm was wrapped, and her body still trembled from the effort of the fight. She refused to sit in the medical shelter, insisting she could walk even if slowly. Her silver eyes scanned every shadow, every movement, ready for another attack that might never come. The captain approached, her boots heavy on the metal floor. She had spent the night thinking, pacing, planning. Now her gaze was fixed on Ryan and Lyra. "Ryan," she said, "the danger is far from over. The rival clan will not forget what happened. They will return, and next time, they may bring more of their kind. We must decide what to do." Ryan stopped walking and turned to her. "We stay. We defend the camp. We do not run from this planet, not now. Lyra has saved many of us already. She is part of us now. The captain studied him carefully. She knew Ryan's courage and his stubbornness, but this was more than stubbornness. The bond he shared with Lyra was dangerous. She could sense it in the way he moved, the way he spoke, the way Lyra never left his side. She took a deep breath. You understand this could put everyone in danger? Ryan nodded. I understand. But I also understand that leaving her behind would be a betrayal. She trusted me with her life. She risked herself for us, and I will not abandon her. Lyra stepped closer, placing a hand on Ryan's chest. The bond pulsed strong between them, a warmth that spread through both of their hearts. Her eyes glowed bright silver, not in fear, not in anger, but in trust. She would follow him anywhere, and he knew he would follow her. The captain shook her head slowly. Then we have a choice. You can leave the camp with her, take a small team and move to a safer place where the rival clan cannot find you quickly. Or you can stay, risk another attack, and defend the camp with the rest of us. Both choices have consequences. Ryan thought carefully. He looked at the camp, at the wounded soldiers, at the human equipment damaged in the fight. He looked at Lyra, at the silver glow in her eyes, at the strength she had shown even when weak. We stay, he said finally. We fight together. We protect the camp, and we will be ready for whatever comes next. The captain's face softened slightly. She could not argue with courage like that. Very well. Prepare for another attack. Strengthen the walls, train the soldiers, and use every tool at your disposal. Ryan, you and your companion will have a special role. Lyra's knowledge of the forest and the enemy will guide us. Ryan nodded and turned to Lyra. She bowed her head slightly, understanding that the responsibility would be shared. Together they began planning. They walked through the camp, examining the walls, the watchtowers, and the trenches. Lyra pointed out weak spots hidden among the metal and soil. She showed Ryan paths in the forest where the rival clan might approach, narrow routes that could be blocked with traps. She whispered words in her language, guiding him with gestures and sharp looks. Ryan learned quickly, listening to her instructions and translating them into action. At night, the camp settled into a careful quiet. Soldiers rested in shifts, keeping watch on the perimeter. Ryan and Lyra sat together near a small fire, examining maps of the surrounding forest. Their hands brushed occasionally, and each time the bond pulsed stronger. Words were not needed between them anymore. They understood one another through glance, through touch, through instinct. The following days passed with preparation. Trenches were deepened, energy shields reinforced, and signal beacons placed throughout the forest. Soldiers practiced drills, moving in sync under the guidance of Ryan and Lyra. She trained them in stealth and alertness, her presence alone teaching them patience and focus. Though alien, she became a bridge between the human soldiers and the forest, teaching them to read the trees, the wind, and the sounds of movement. One evening, Ryan and Lyra climbed to the top of a small hill overlooking the camp. The wind carried the faint glow of the forest below, and the setting sun painted the sky in shades of red and silver. We will be ready, Ryan said quietly, more to himself than to her. Lyra stepped closer, resting her head briefly against his shoulder. She whispered his name, a sound that carried calm, strength, and loyalty all at once. Ryan felt warmth spread through him. He knew the rival clan would come again, but he also knew this. Whatever happened, they would face it together. The night passed slowly. The forest was alive with movement, but nothing approached the camp. Lyra stayed awake, her ears twitching at every sound, her claws ready. Ryan sat beside her, keeping watch, feeling the rhythm of the bond pulsing between them. Then, just as the first light of morning touched the glowing leaves, a signal flashed in the distance. The rival clan had returned, more numerous than before, moving like shadows between the trees. Their eyes glowed red and their howls rolled across the forest like thunder. The camp woke quickly, alarms sounding, soldiers taking their positions. Ryan and Lyra were at the center, directing movements, checking every barricade, and making sure every trap was ready. She leapt to the walls, guiding soldiers, striking down any who came too close. Ryan moved alongside her, his mind sharp, his actions precise. The battle began with a rush of claws and teeth. The rival clan poured through the forest, attacking the camp with speed and precision. But this time the humans were ready. Energy fields blocked their paths. Traps erupted beneath their feet, and soldiers moved with coordination and discipline. Lyra moved like a storm, leaping, striking, protecting every human in her path. Her silver eyes burned with strength, her claws cutting through the enemy's ranks. She never left Ryan's side and he never left hers. Together they fought with courage and skill, guiding the camp with instincts and strategy. The leader of the rival clan emerged from the shadows again, his eyes glowing red, his body massive. He rushed toward Ryan, but Lyra intercepted him. Their claws clashed in a shower of sparks. Ryan saw an opening and acted. Using a flash charge, he blinded the leader for a moment. Lyra struck with precision, her claws driving deep. The leader staggered, then fell back, roaring in anger. One by one, the rival clan retreated, dragging their wounded leader into the forest. Silence returned to the camp, broken only by the groans of the injured and the crackle of fire. The captain approached Ryan and Lyra. Her face was calm but serious. "You were right. Together you can face anything. Your bond saved the camp, saved lives. I understand now that this connection between you is not a weakness, but a strength." Ryan nodded, exhausted but proud. Lyra stood beside him, her silver eyes shining with quiet satisfaction. As the sun rose higher, casting warm light across the camp, Ryan knew their lives had changed forever. Lyra would never leave him, and he would never leave her. Together, they had faced impossible odds and emerged stronger. The humans looked at them with new respect. Lyra was no longer just an alien. She was a protector, a warrior, and a friend. The bond they shared had shown what humans could achieve when they trusted, when they worked with allies across worlds. Ryan knew challenges would continue. The rival clan would not give up easily, and other dangers might come from the forest or beyond. But he also knew that humanity was no longer alone. With Lyra by his side, he felt hope, courage, and a strength that could carry them through anything. The choice had been made. They would stay, they would protect, and they would face the future together. In that moment, Ryan realized the true power of trust, loyalty, and the bond of two very different beings joined by fate and courage. The stars above Arvin shone brighter than ever, and the forest whispered with life. The humans had learned that true strength came not only from weapons and walls, but from unity, from courage, and from the bonds that could cross worlds. Ryan and Lyra stood together, ready for whatever came next, knowing that the bond between them had changed everything.